Oh,
Hello.
welcome back. I hope your bathroom break was as satisfying as mine was.
Always, always. You can't, beat a cup of tea in the bathroom.
Oh yeah. Um, as between the break, I realized this is the second time I've interviewed you, Gideon.
Is it? When did
Yes, I interviewed you in like 20, I want to say 15, outside of the school when I was at university.
Oh God, was I as pretentious then as I am now?
I have the video somewhere unlisted on YouTube.
Oh no.
Yeah. I don't know if, like, I messaged you because I went to training, like, I want to say 2014.
Mm.
Would have been just as you were starting. No, you were doing the main shows at first because you were in your Colt Cabana feud, I want to say.
Oh yes, I remember. I remember nothing of this period, but
Yeah.
yes, that sounds about right.
And I messaged you because I did, like, I want to say a couple months worth of training, had to stop to go to university. And I messaged you to say, would you be kind enough to do an interview for me about pro wrestling? And I
no.
filmed it. And it is somewhere. If you want, I'll see if I can find it and I'll post you a link.
Oh please don't, no, because then I'll watch it and I'll hate myself even more. Christ. Well, I hope that the university, I hope that it was a decent enough interview for your university. But,
Well, I'll just say I'm an award-winning writer now, so
excellent. I like to think, then in that case, I like to think that I played a small part in
Ooh.
molding you.
This would have been 2013.
Yeah.
Oh.
We'll kill that one, please. Thank you.
Yeah. It was outside the bit where they just had the one ring and.
Oh no, I remember that. I don't remember the interview, but I remember that area. Oh no.
Yeah, that is it will never see the light of day, but it is on YouTube somewhere unlisted.
I very much appreciate that it will never see the light of day.
No, you messaged me actually after I'd done it saying, can you never post this somewhere?
Yeah, that does sound like me.
And I had to post it on YouTube because it had to be sent to my lecturer. So I was like, you were like, can you please just unlist it? And I was like, sure. And I did.
Jeez.
I appreciate that.
Never see the
no,
light.
It's one of those awkward things because when you're doing an interview for anything, like especially wrestling related, there's so much of you that wants to remain in that performative mode. Yes. And just give answers as the arsehole that you are secretly. But, like that, you also kind of want to pull apart that curtain a bit, and especially nowadays in the age of fans being more clued in. Mm-hmm. Definitely not smart. We won't use that phrase.
Oh God, no.
Yeah, more clued in than they have been in the past. You don't want to make it so that people will take one look at it and go, "Oh, this is just a story that they're doing, but we'll ignore this one. This has no merit." And it's one of those things. It's very easy to drop into that, and it's very difficult to find the balance of, keeping that interest while not ruining it for people who may not think of it in a certain way.
Mm-hmm. I also look back as well. I can't remember last time I saw it, but all the questions I asked are like the lamest questions.
Like what?
I think one of them was like, is wrestling as political as people think it is? And I'm like, fuck me. I hated the questions I asked. That actually stopped me from going back and watching it. I was only like, because like the whole smart thing, I didn't consider myself that until maybe like 2015 when I got into reading about wrestling more and more. I would say like 2013, I was still just like kind of a casual fan that wanted to wrestle. So I asked the lamest questions, and yeah,
that's the thing though. Like it's there are known knowns, there are known unknowns, and there are unknown unknowns.
Yep.
And that seems stupid, but it's true. Like there are things that you know, and there are things that you know that you don't know, and then there are also things that you don't know that you don't know. And in terms of wrestling, that is so true worldwide. Like even being like the small bit in the business that I am, because I am, I'm not popular. I'm not a big deal. I work for tiny British promotions who are good British promotions I work for, but I work for just this one. I work in a tiny bubble compared to everywhere else. I don't talk to people. I'm a very antisocial person. But even being that, there are stuff that goes on that you're like, oh man, is that real? Is that not real? Who knows? And like,
Love that.
yeah, and reading like people's opinions on things, which their opinions are valid. That's fine, but also just there are so many instances where you read something and you're like, wow, you have missed the point completely, or
Oh, definitely.
you do not know what is actually going on there. Wow. Like, even if you think you have the hottest scoop and you've got it from like a wrestler in the industry and you're like, this is definitely what's going on, unless you're in the room where it happens, you have no clue.
Uh-huh.
And that's the thing. Like, so you're saying that your questions are super lame and everything else. They're not. They're just questions that someone who with that level of knowledge and that level of experience was asking. They were sensible questions at the time. But nowadays, like, if you had an option to ask any wrestler anything, I think like the most fun things you can ask people, or the most in-depth answers you'll get, is from like, so what's your favorite food? Like, the completely non-wrestling related questions will be the most probing and the most interesting.
I remember talking to Keith Lee about Pokemon. And
how did that happen?
So 2017 Global Wars, he came in, Keith Lee, I didn't know what to expect, but he came in day 2 with this bright yellow shirt with had Pikachu's face on the front. And then that came up about our love of Japan and all that, and he was asking me a bunch of questions, and he's just super cool. And it is, when you talk to wrestlers about stuff outside of wrestling, they seem way more enthusiastic. It's strange.
But that is the thing, like, if you talk to a doctor about doctoring, they will seem very enthused. Like, at a certain point, wrestling becomes your job and not your passion.
Yeah.
But Keith Lee is a cool mother. He's a nice, awesome dude.
He is great.
Yeah, but it's weird that no one really knows a wrestler at all, and then you have these interactions with people, and they're perfectly honest and open interactions, and you're like, I never expected this from this person. You're like, oh yeah, that's because a lot of what they're showing everyone is just a performative aspect of their personality.
Yes.
Some of my funnest times have been like driving people to shows and just chatting in the car.
Oh,
like,
definitely, yeah.
That was a weird one. There was a Rev Pro show where I can't remember when it was because I have a terrible memory, but the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega were on the show.
Yes.
For the York Hall, and they were flying in from Ireland because they had OTT the day before. And the car that was meant to pick them up suffered a malfunction the day before and was off the road. So I got a phone call very early that morning. That was, I know that you're going to pick up, I think it was Leo Rush I was going to pick up.
Yes, that sounds right.
Yeah, I know you're going to pick up this guy and this guy from Airport X before, like I had to get up pretty early. And being not a morning person, that's already not happening. But so, you need to pick up this guy and then come to the York Hall. And then would you do the massivest favor and pick up the Bucks and Kenny Omega? And of course, I'm like, well, I hate driving. I hate driving long distances. I hate long days. I hate everything about life. But sure, I'll do this. Why not? And got in my car. And at the time, I was driving a Ford Fiesta.
Oh.
And fun thing about Ford Fiestas, they're not the biggest car in the world.
No.
So go pick up Leo Rush and someone else from this first airport, Stansted. It wasn't Stansted, it was somewhere else. Pick them up from this first airport, drive them to the York Hall, drop them off, get everything sorted, start helping with the ring, start helping with chairs, start doing things that need to be done. And then comes the time where it's like, okay, I need to leave now to get to Stansted to pick up these guys because their flight's coming in. Leave for Stansted, get to Stansted. Never been to Stansted before. Also, the word Stansted now has lost all meaning because I've said it too many times in a short amount of time. But get there. No idea where I'm going because there's like the arrivals for international flights. And I know that's not going to be where they're coming from because they're coming from Ireland. So I need to find the arrivals for domestic-ish flights. I wasn't exactly sure. So I went to the main
Domestic-ish.
Yeah, because it may have been, not Northern Ireland. I don't know. So I go into the main bit, ask around, find out where the thing's coming from, have to go outside the main building again, walk all the way down the side of this airport to this sketchy little side entrance that looks like it's nothing. And, wait there. And I'm like, is this the right place? Have I just gone insane? Osprey comes out. And I'm like, oh, he was on OTT, so this is the right place. Excellent. And he gets into the car with his dad, and his dad's got a lovely big old hatchback, loads of room and everything. And, he gets in there and goes away. I'm like, that would have been such a better call if anyone in charge knew that was happening. Then everything could have fit in there. That would have been great. So the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega show up. And I take a small bag to wrestling shows because I don't sell things. I have never sold things, and I never intend to sell things.
Not even moves.
Hey! I try not to. They really hurt sometimes, though. But anyway, these guys don't carry small bags. No. They had 2 massive suitcases each. And each, yeah. And again, a Ford Fiesta, not the biggest car in the world.
No.
So I managed to fit 4 bags in the boot before the boot was no longer an option. And I am proud of managing that, right?
Yeah.
That meant there were 2 bags still to go.
Oh.
And 3 very muscular, very broad-shouldered people to also go. And finally managed to sort it out where I had 2 bags in the front with me. Kenny Omega, Matt and Nick Jackson sat in the back, all stuffed in the back seats.
Wow.
They muscle bound, taken up it was a wall of flesh back there. One person melding into the next person and you could not see a damn thing. But they were so heated about this. Obviously, you don't want to be stuck wedged up
Sardines.
with someone's, you don't want someone's liver in your throat, and that's essentially what was happening back there. And I was as apologetic as I could be. And I was constantly reassured, don't worry, we're not angry with you. We understand this is just your car. You have no say in this. And you've done us a favor by coming to pick us up. Yeah. We're not angry at you, but we are angry. And so it was a very awkward drive. They were making nice conversation amongst themselves in the back. I was trying not to get involved, but listening, finding out what kind of people these were. And one of them mentioned Nando's, and I was like, well, there is a Nando's near the place we're going. And they were like, oh my God, that would be amazing. Can you go drop us off? And in my head, I'm thinking, you've got a meet and greet in about an hour, and you 3 definitely have to be there.
I mean, who's gonna maybe?
Yeah, but on the flip side, you're also very angry right now because you've been forced into a small car. What do I do? And in the end, I'm like, well, you know what? It's not my show. So yes, you can definitely go and have a Nando's. And so drove them there, dropped them off at Nando's, drove their bags to the venue for them, put their bags away, went back and got them before they made the meet and greet, I think 5 minutes late maybe. Okay. But just that whole car ride was one of the most interesting experiences and worst experiences of my wrestling career so far. Because the stuff they were talking about, very interesting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, just the anger from the back was palpable. It was great. So car journey is great. Please go.
I had a similar experience last January after York Hall. It was me, a guy called Michael, Jeff Cobb, and Zack Sabre Jr. in a 3-door car.
Yeah, I remember you talking about.
And Jeff Cobb and Zack Sabre Jr. had big suitcases and 3-door car, not much space in the boot. So I had Jeff Cobb's suitcase on my lap, covering up
excellent.
my whole face, and Zack Saber's one in the middle seat covering. So I was like boxed in, couldn't look out, couldn't look in, and just like every couple of minutes, Zack would just go, "You all right there?" And I just be like, "Same as I was before," and he'd be like, "You're doing good."
Well, that's the thing. It's like, well, I have no say in what is happening right now, so yes, I am okay. Thank you.
Like for me, it was like I'm getting a free lift home,
Yeah.
and I get to be in the car listening to Zack Sabre Jr. and Jeff Cobb talk about PWG experiences. It is worth the leg pain.
It is, and
Yeah.
you know, you can learn so much from these car rides, and you can pick up so much things, or like even just having your opinions either validated or unvalidated. Perfect. They're wonderful for that. But,
Exactly. Yeah.
Jeff Cobb, incidentally, I was I think I introduced him to sausage rolls, but I know I introduced him to black pudding.
He strikes me as a man who would enjoy a black pudding, to be honest.
I mean,
What a claim to fame.
like there's a wonderful cafe opposite the York Hall, and they do an all-day breakfast, and they do include black pudding, and it is wonderful. If you get the opportunity, go and try it. It's absolutely fantastic.
I know which cafe you're talking about, and it is fantastic and super cheap for central London.
It really is. Like it's not the fact I like food. It doesn't matter if it's cheap food or expensive food, but the amount you get for the money you're spending is so good there.
Every time I eat there, I think they must be losing money.
Yeah, they've got to be, right? Like,
Yeah.
even if they're using the cheapest cuts of meat they can find, like they're still very generous with their portions.
Yes. So you took Jeff Cobb there.
Yeah.
I love that.
It was a good day. Like,
and knowing the chairs in there as well. That's the kind of place where the chairs are like bolted to the table.
Yeah,
I can't fit in them sometimes.
It was a little bit of a squeeze, but he had a nice meal. So
Yeah, that's amazing.
But it's those little things that make it, the awful travel and the awful this and awful that. It makes it worthwhile.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Like getting up at whatever in the morning to get to York Hall, let's say, is worth it when you're hanging out with your mates at that cafe.
Yeah, it really is.
So what was your first training session at RevPro like?
I didn't take part in my first ever training session at RevPro.
Smart.
Yeah. So I'd done a couple of sessions with the promoter whose ring that I helped build and then paid to get into his show and yelled at me. He eventually ran, I think it was like one training session a month near where I lived at the time. And so I went down and took as many body slams as I could and all this and all that. And he stopped doing that. And so there were two other people that I'd kind of got friendly with at that training school. And they said, oh, we should try this one in Portsmouth. And I didn't drive at the time. So I was like, well, if you're going to this one in Portsmouth, I'm well up for this. And so we went to RevPro. And the day that we chose to go, I had an awful cold. And I was feeling rough as hell. And I don't make good first impressions anyway, as a human being. Like, I come off as standoffish and, arrogant because I'm quiet and I don't really talk much. So I'm there and I just watched the session from the outside because I explained to Quilden at the time, like, I'm so sorry, I'm feeling very rough today, but I'm happy to pay a tenner just to watch. And watched. Very interesting. Like, their way of doing things seemed a lot more regimented than the way we were doing things. And I was like, yeah, okay, this is the place where I'm going. And I think James Castle, I think he said later that was his first session as well. But I just remember seeing him in the ring. And so that was my first experience, was just watching a training session at RevPro. And
Okay.
I kept going. The other two dropped off quite quickly, but I couldn't give up. And at that point, I got addicted to it. Went training all the time. Had moments where there were more experienced wrestlers going there. One who won't be named pulled me aside at one point, and they were very frustrated because they'd been around the scene for a while, and wanted to be on the main shows. Hadn't been able to get on the main shows. Like Quilden wasn't putting anyone from the training school on there at the time, and he literally said to me point blank, like, "You're wasting your time here. Quilden will never use any of his trainees on his main shows. It's pointless. I'm paying for things that I already know how to do." Like full on attitude about it.
Yeah.
And I remember at that time being like, I don't care. I'm still. I don't mind if I ever make it in wrestling because I'm 27 at the time or something ridiculous like that. Like, I'm already past my prime, he says. And so I had no aspirations of getting to WWE.
Yeah.
And no aspirations of getting to New Japan, no aspirations of doing anything, but maybe one day having a wrestling match.
Mm-hmm.
So that kept me going. And at that point, when Quilden did tell me, like, "Oh, we want you on the main shows," I'm like, "Oh, okay." So that all paid off. You know, like, there are points in the training where you're doing the same thing every session all week. And it can get super demoralizing because you're like, well, I've come down, I want to learn more, but at the same time, we're just doing the same thing over and over again. And it seems pointless. So I always used a little trick of like, okay, well, today, if we're doing the same thing, I'm going to focus on making my selling on this super good. Or I'm going to focus on making this the most intense I can. You know, I'm going to focus on being as fluid as I possibly can be. Like, I'm going to focus on making this thing that we're doing day after day after day the best example of it that you could ever see. You know, and that kept me going throughout the like rough patches. And then it all turned out for the best. So that was weird.
Can you remember your first match, like how it went and what you felt afterwards?
My first match was a trainee match with it was a 6-man tag. Myself, a guy named Sam Wildridge, and I want to say, I think Ian Logan was on our side versus the Mighty Oak, Bobcat Ryan Hendricks.
Yep.
And I want to say maybe Elliot Winch. I don't know. I can't remember for the life of me who was in the match. But all I remember about the match is at one point, Sam Wildridge, who was a larger chap, tagged me out. You know, I tagged him in. He got in the ring, and one of the fans just started heckling at him. You know, like, "You're a fatty, you're a fatty." So all I remember doing is turning to that particular audience member and going, "I'm not fat." That's my one memory from that match, and yeah, it was a good time. But that was my first ever match. I think can't remember much about it, and I can't remember much about my career in its entirety, to be honest. Every now and then I'll have flashes where I'm like, "Oh, that happened." You know, like, "Oh, I got put in a sharpshooter by Bret Hart. That happened. That was cool." Or like, "Oh, there was this one time where Sanjay Dutt comes up to me after a random match at the cockpit and says, 'Oh, you're my new favorite wrestler.'" And I'm like, "Thanks, you lie." Like, weird things like that. Like, I will remember nothing about my career or nothing about anything to do with wrestling, and then just have these flashes of like, "Oh, this thing happened. That was fun." Like, I met Jeff Jarrett at the GWP show or whatever it was. Like, that was weird.
What, did he recognize you?
Oh, of course. Who doesn't recognize me?
You're Sanjay Dutt's favorite wrestler.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, that's the thing. Like, it's the little things, like Shinsuke Nakamura, right? Oh, what a wrestler!
Yeah,
he is so good. But he came over for a show and then came back, right? And this is the important thing. The show that he came over, I was wrestling Colt Cabana and Matt Classic with Rishi Ghosh, and it was a fun show. And all I remember is there was Evan Bourne and Ospreay 2 out of 3 falls before his match, before my Cabana match. That was there. And so I'm hanging out backstage, warming up, getting ready to go on, and I'm looking over, and you just see Nakamura peeking through the curtains at the match, right? watching this epic 2 out of 3 falls match happen, and every now and then he's just going, too much, they do too much, and I'm there loving it. I'm living for this because I know what I'm planning on doing, and I'm like, if you think this is too much, just you wait, son. You're gonna see someone get away with doing nothing at all, right? And so this world-class wrestler, one of the, at the time, the best in the world, in my opinion, is just there, like at this random English show, watching and losing his mind because people are doing too much. He's digging it, by the way, as well. He loves it, but it's just like, oh my god, they're doing everything. Why? They're killing themselves out there. Why? And I'm like, I love you. But anyway, so I go do my match. Blah 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 blah. Comes back, he looks at me, and he's full on belly laughing, and I'm like, oh, it went well. Right. So fast forward to the next time he comes over with Global Wars. I'm due to face Gado.
Yes.
Right? And so I drive Quilden up to the airport, and this is the first time an anxiety attack played a part in my life, and I felt very like it was so rough. We had to stop at a hotel on the way back because I found out, I've got a severe problem with anxiety. It's under control now, but beforehand it would make me like physically ill, and I wouldn't understand why it was happening. You know? And so like driving with it was awful because I'd get very tired very quickly. Like everything that could go wrong felt like it was going wrong. Had to pull over on the side of a motorway once with like what I thought was a heart attack. It was great. So anxiety, very fun thing.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, but fortunately, so the anxiety attack happened on the way back, and that was fine. And I was feeling rough pretty much all that day, but that was just like the build up to it. So we're going to the airport where they're coming down, and we're going to make sure they get off the plane okay, get on their transport okay, and get to the hotel okay, and then we're driving back. That was the day's tasks. And so we're there waiting around at the airport, and Shinsuke comes off the plane, Nakamura. And I'm like, oh, it's him. This guy, he won't recognize me. Like, as you do, because in wrestling, you don't think anyone's going to know who you are or all of this.
And the amount of people they must meet every day.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the amount of people that, like, no offense, I'm trash. So the amount of people in my head that are better than me that he's meeting every day must be insane. And so he comes over and it's like shakes hands. I introduce myself. Quilden introduces himself, and I'm like, yeah, we met before, but I'm not going to say anything. And he looks at me and goes, oh, you have a match with Gado this weekend? And I was like, oh, yes. And he said, oh, it's going to be very funny. And I was like,
yes, it is.
He remembers me, and he also overestimates what I can do. Yay! It's those moments as well that are just wonderful in wrestling.
Yeah.
Speaking about like meeting people, this and that. So at One York Hall, Cody Rhodes was there.
Oh, brilliant!
He was super nice, and I sort of waited till he was done selling all his merch and that, and I walked up to him and I was like, "Can I buy a shirt for my brother?" And he was like, "Sure, I'll autograph it for you." And I was like, "Cool." And then I was like, "I'm never going to see this guy again," so I just asked him like, "Would you film a video message for my brother that I can give him at Christmas?" And he was like, "Sure, let's go backstage and do it now." So I do all that. It's great. Cody comes back for a Portsmouth Guildhall show. And I'm like, I wonder if he remembers that. So I go up to him and I'm like, "Hey, Cody, blah, blah. Thanks for doing that video message for my brother. Do you remember that at York Hall?" And he went, "I'll be honest, I have no recollection of who you are."
At least he was honest.
And that's what I thought. I was like, that's the nicest thing he could have said because he's not going to lie to me. He's such a...
And that's the thing, like, if you go in with no expectation of anyone remembering you at all, ever, then it's always a really pleasant surprise when they do.
Yeah. He's just like, I have no recollection of who you are or what I did.
But that's the thing, like, that shows you, like, he's again, I don't think it speaks to like his moral character or anything like that because I don't know his personal life. No one will. No. But it shows that he cares enough to, if someone asks him for something in particular that would mean something for another person, then he's more than willing just to go, yeah, sure. And it means like it must happen all the time because he has no recollection of doing it on a special occasion. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I just love the honesty. Is I'm not going to lie to you. I don't remember you.
Oh yeah, like that's the best way to go.
Yeah.
Like if you get trapped in an awkward lie where you're like, yeah, I remember you. You're the then where do you go from there?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Kind of going off of that. I want to ask Gideon, what would you say is your proudest moment, your most triumphant moment in wrestling, if you can remember?
Oh God. My most triumphant moment was when I first met Okan and that wonderful obviously that's been a highlight of recent years for me because again, I could just watch his matches all day long, and watching from ringside and being able to watch that has been so much fun. But no, I think the highlight was also one of like, it's a bittersweet memory for me, but with the Legion of Lords back in the day, we were doing a story with Rishi and Federalis Santos Jr. Like being their own tag team, and myself and Chief Deputy Dunn being a tag team as well. And, you know, us being the A team, them being the B team, and us A teamers kept losing, and those B teamers kept winning. And, you know, it irked me, as it does. And there was a moment in the cockpit theatre where I can't remember if I was in the match. I can't remember a lot about this match. If there was a match beforehand, what happened, I can't remember a damn thing. All I remember is that at one point afterwards, myself, Damien, and Federalis Santos Jr., I'm probably saying his name wrong, and I apologize if I am, but we were all beating Rishi Ghosh in the ring. Because at that time, you know, I'd kicked him out. He was done. And we were beating him up. And everything had been building to this moment. The last 6 months of what I'd been doing in wrestling had been leading to this particular moment. And it was the point where we were telling Santos to finish Rishi off, to beat him up, to hurt him. And instead, he turned on myself and Damien Dunn. And the moment that happened, the moment that he threw off those shackles and said, no, this guy is my friend, this is wrong, I'm standing up for what's right, that place erupted in more noise than I've ever heard there. And like just being able to be part of that moment where people had been sick of what I'd been doing for so long, to have this person, you know, support a friend and have that be just this uplifting emotional moment where people couldn't help but make noise. That was, I think, one of the coolest moments in my wrestling career, because it was like, yeah, it sucked because, you know, my plans were different from what happened, but just being there for that emotional release from everyone was like a very uplifting moment, and that was cool. And yeah, I think that's my favorite wrestling moment that I've had.
I think the best match I've ever seen at the training school was you and Oka versus Harry Milligan and another trainee. I don't know if you remember that match.
I think I remember that, yeah. I think I was
that was like the most trainees have ever gotten into a match at the training school.
I'm not going to lie. I don't remember this match, though I do know what I'm like at the training school.
I remember Harry getting the absolute hell beaten out of him by Oka.
Yes, it was. It's weird to say. It was like a New Japan quality match.
Oh, well, thank you. That was all on Okan.
But you beat the hell out of him, and the trainee made a great comeback, and it was near falls. It was like, yeah, it was just a fantastic match. And I think afterwards, Corden was like, wow. And all of us trainees were like, fuck, we have to follow that then. Happy trainee matches, and you've just had that quality match that could have been like a York Hall match or a New Japan match. And we were like, well, me and so-and-so are going to have to do the basic bitch match. And
but
yeah.
Like this is the thing, like that's what I love about wrestling, because like that, I can't remember the exact match, but that feeling that you get in the training school, because everyone knows each other there. We train together so intensely. Like if you do put on a match that has that structure to it or that story to it, and everything is done well and everything is smooth and everything looks as good as it can, then people will go like, holy crap, that was a great match, right?
Yeah.
If we did that exact same match with those exact same people on the York Hall, it would have been shat on.
Yeah, I guess because like we know the people there, so we're invested in what they're doing. Yeah,
and that's that's the difference that a crowd makes. Like I think I may have said it at York Hall once. Like I think it was just before the Cabana Classic match, but I'm fully on the opinion that there are so many people there that just want to see like Japanese wrestlers that they don't actually know, that they've not actually watched. Right? People at the York Hall don't give a crap about the rest of the product. Right?
Oh,
they don't.
yeah.
They couldn't care less about the stories that have been happening. They couldn't care less about anything. They came here to see particular people that they've not actually seen before, and they're very passionate about this Japanese guy is going to be incredible because this Japanese guy is incredible. I've been told this, and that's all I'm here for. They wouldn't give a crap if you like went out there and did the most amazing match in the world because you're nobody. And that's the reality, and that's the frustrating reality in wrestling, is you can be the best in the world. Like you can genuinely be one of the best wrestlers ever to step foot in a ring. But until you have that like value behind your name, no one will acknowledge it.
Well, like Will Ospreay, like how long was he having these matches? Same matches at York Hall, no one cared about it. Then when he went to New Japan, came back, everyone cared about him.
You know, like it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
You know, and I think you always have a moment in like, and again, I say career very loosely here.
I mean, it is.
Yeah, in your wrestling career,
Yeah.
you'll always have that one moment where you finally think, wow, I've just got this. Or like, wow, I'm an actual wrestler rather than a trainee.
Well, like a eureka moment.
Not even a eureka moment. It's like, eureka's just like, it's this one defining like, oh, I've jumped out the bathtub. I'm now a professional wrestler, right? It's way more subtle than that. It's like, for me, it wasn't anything in particular, but it was one day at the Portsmouth Guildhall show. I noticed that I was watching a match that was going on in the ring, and Zack Sabre Jr. was there beside me watching the match that was going on in the ring. And we were just talking about it, not like he was teaching me, but we were just talking like peers who were sharing opinions of this match.
Yeah.
And there wasn't that structure anymore of this guy is so much better than me, it's unreal. There was the structure of we're both professionals in this industry and we're both giving our thoughts on this match, right? And it's again a very wanky moment, but
you're allowed to have them.
Yeah, it was at that point where I was like, oh, I'm actually a wrestler. Okay, cool.
Gideon, I don't want to keep you too much longer, as I know you've probably got many lordly things to be getting on with. As we have a lot of trainees who listen to this show, what advice would you give to, individuals who are considering training to be a professional wrestler, and B, those already currently training at the very start of their careers, if you will?
So, aside from the usual give up that I tell everyone,
Yes.
Yes. I definitely have told everyone that at some point or another. It may or may not have been a joke, but if you're thinking about getting into wrestling and starting to train for wrestling, do it. Just dive in head first. Make sure that you have options for your career. Make sure that you've got a solid base outside of wrestling that will support you. Because it's very hard to make a living in this industry. If it's something that you love and it's something that you want to try it. Give your all into it and you'll get out what you put in. Make sure you're safe. You know, do your research on quality training, do your research on everything in that situation, and just look after yourself. You know, if you're feeling unsafe at any point, talk to people that you can trust. You'll find a lot of training schools have their own like cliquey system of trainees, but you will find and make some great friends along the way. And wrestling hurts way more than you think it does.
Oh God.
So be prepared for that. The first session you have, you will end up a broken, bruised mess, and you'll hate it and love it at the same time. But yeah, just you're never too old, and just go for it. If it's something that you love, try. What's the worst that could happen? For those of you that are already in it, loosen up. Like that's genuinely the best advice I can give anyone. Don't overthink things. Don't try to do overcomplicated things. Especially, there'll come a point where you are excited to do more complicated things. At that point, don't.
That was something I want to ask you about, because like you can do like so many cool different things, but I mean this is like a compliment, but you choose to not do them in your matches.
Well,
Like, was that a conscious effort, or is it like, yeah,
part of it's a challenge to myself. So in terms of like my matches, given who I am in wrestling and what I do in wrestling, it would make very little sense if I was busting out what I can do.
Yes.
You know? So I know that I can do a lot of things. People that train with me know I can do a lot more than I actually show. And I will never show what I can actually do to people. I do like that stuff for me. Because, and again, this is another helpful hint to trainees. A lot of things in wrestling, if you perfect your foundation and you perfect the basics and you get everything to where it should be before trying anything complicated, the complicated stuff is easy as hell. Right?
Yeah.
So all these fantastic moves, if you do your technical wrestling and if you understand the way your body moves, the way your body works, and you are relaxed and loose enough to, move freely, everything else just falls into place and it's easier.
Because like the amount of submissions that like
Yeah, you're like an
if you put in a match with
encyclopedia.
Zack Sabre Jr., you could have like an amazing submission match. And like part of me's really sad that I know I'll never get to see that because you choose not to do it in your matches. But I completely respect it at the same time.
I would love to go up against Zach in a proper match where I show stuff. But yeah, that will never happen as far as I'm aware. But I work to where I'm put in places, and if that ever changes down the future. And if there's opportunities down the future, we might see more. We probably won't, though. But,
was that a conscious effort, like decision, or was that just something? Okay.
Yeah, no, so again, in knowing what I had to be in order to elicit the reactions I needed from people, I have very carefully thought through everything I've done. Yeah, and I've put way too much effort into things. But, even subtle things like, I know I can do this particular strike. I can pull off some impressive kicks, for example. But there is no way I'll ever use that in a match because this that I'm portraying to the crowd that I want them to hate and I want them to know this whole performative aspect of it. I'll never use those things because it's too much for that particular person,
Okay.
Like I'm not in the best of shape, and for the longest time that has also been deliberate.
You don't go in wanting to be cheered, I notice.
Oh yeah, no, if I'm hated I'm happy.
Oh, that should be your autobiography title.
Oh no, I've already got the biography title. I'm working on a Gideon Grey story, or how I destroyed British wrestling from the inside.
Nice.
Thank you. But yeah, like just relax, work on your fundamentals, and be, the looser you are for everything, the less likely you are going to get injured.
You put the fun in fundamentals.
Yeah.
I hate that you said that. Yeah. Before we go, a couple of things. First, I know that you and I have had a match, Benjamin.
We have. You hold the notable achievement of being the only individual who's pinned my shoulders to the mat.
I do apologise about that, but it happens every now and then. Everyone suffers a loss. But there was we were in, was it an 8-man tag? I can't remember, but at Buckland, that was a very fun match. And I was just wondering, after working someone, you get to learn a bit more about the way they work and everything else. And you're coming along tremendously as a trainee. Like, you look absolutely fantastic.
That's
like,
one of
full
the
stop.
few benefits that I have, to be honest with you. Like
I
you said, when you were starting out, you could talk. Well, this is my one ray of hope is, I don't actually look too terrible. Maybe I can lever that some way.
You've definitely got a lot of options there. The physique definitely helps. Like, the only thing, like, I'd say as someone that's been in there working with you is, again, like, if you work on like fluidity, you are going to be so much better than you thought you could be.
And that's one of the things when we were briefly back training. Andy was really trying to get me he just said, I want to get you in the ring as much as possible to get you comfortable just moving around the ring smoothly.
Like, the moment that clicks in your head, you're going to like take off with a rocket up your ass. And like, I think like mainly Aiden as well, like, we've had some training matches.
Only time I worked babyface was against you.
I think I remember that.
You said at one point, hit the ropes, I'll do a super kick. And then after the match, you went, I've never thrown a super kick before.
I do remember this.
Best time to try one.
Yeah.
Well, confidence. But again, like, having that match with you, or these training matches with you, it's you have that, like, you're not super stiff in your posture or in the way that you wrestle, and that's you're at a level where you can start pushing yourself further and further. And I think, again, you're going to be someone definitely to watch out for and everything. But I mainly just wanted to ask you guys a question of, like, what do you want out of wrestling?
Fun. That's like it's stories that I can tell in 10 years time.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, actually. That's like, I'd love to work for the WWE or AEW and make it the big time, but if I don't, I'm perfectly fine with that. I just want to have great matches, have great memories, and help other people to also have great matches and great memories.
Like I say, in 20 years time, I want to be able to like see a photo or a video or have a story where I can be like, that is something I did and that was cool. If I get to wrestle at a York Hall, then I would be super happy. But like, I do have goals. Like, I'd like to wrestle at York Hall or Kurikan. But yeah, I just want something that I can share in 20 years time and be like, that was me.
I think that's, like, that's the way you should be looking at it. And I think that you both have like very sensible heads on your shoulders, and have your goals, and if you achieve them, they're wonderful. But at the same time, if it is just something that dies down or goes away, have that fun and don't ever miss an opportunity that you can have, because I think you guys are both sensible and you're going to make it quite, you're going to have fun in this industry. So
I'd like to also pin someone finally in a match, because I've been doing this for 3 years on shows and I've pinned one person, and it was in a Survivor Series.
Well, that is the first of many.
I think someone remind me, I've only won one match in my 3 years. And it was, yeah. I'm like, please, I just like a one win, so I have a photo of my hand being raised. Because I was immediately pinned in that Survivor Series after I got a pin.
Oof. Well, in that case, I will show you many, many ways of cheating to increase your odds.
Yes.
There we go. But yeah, thank you very much, guys, for having me on.
Cool. Oh, is there anything you want to plug? Your Twitter and your Twitch?
No, I don't do anything. So again, part of the whole, I've deliberately not released merchandise. I deliberately don't have anything to plug. I deliberately keep myself as outside of people's radars as I can. But thank you very much for the offer. I'd like to plug this show because it's been wonderful.
This has been a great episode.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me. Like it's been really nice talking about wrestling.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on again sometime to go over like wrestling philosophy some more.
Yeah.
heck yeah. Like, trust me, I could speak for like roughly 10 hours on just the philosophy and makeup of wrestling. But yeah, if you guys want to do that, that'd be lovely, man. Like,
yeah.
Hopefully we'll do that soon.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, do take care of yourself, Lord Gideon. And
Never.
we look forward to seeing you in the ring, hopefully this year.
Well, fingers crossed. Let's see how everything goes. But thank you very much, guys, and enjoy the rest of your days.
Missing you already.
And you.
Take care, guys.
Take care.
Cheers.
Take